This is the briefing for Friday, August 21st. If you remember from last night's briefing, I talked about the fact that it appeared that we were going to see some type of rotation back up in the indices today. And that's exactly what happened. I caution to watch what happens in the first hour of trading, because if we did see that rotation back up, that potentially it could develop into something greater in degree of time and price. We did see the rotation back up, and I talked about the fact that this looked like an exhaustion candle to me on the spiders. They did trade below support, and you can see this buying tail that came in on higher volume, suggesting that sellers exhausted themselves and buyers stepped in to drive it back up, except the market closed. And then in today's trading, of course, we got a gap up, and then, of course, rotation just below what was support and is now resistance. In terms of the Qs, you can see we had basically the same thing. We had a gap up at the open, and that it was closed in that first hour of trading. And then, of course, the rotational pattern that occurred. The same thing occurred with the IWM representing the Russell. So basically, this is really an area where I'm unsure as to whether we're going to see a continuation in rotation back through this range, which is typically in an area of rotation is the higher probability. But the market just feels very weak from an internal perspective, at least at this point in time. So it wouldn't surprise me to see some type of move back to the downside. What I'm going to be watching is today's low. If today's low is broken, that's going to suggest that yesterday's low typically will be tested and potentially broken, especially if this buying tail is not defended. These were buyers that stepped in pretty convincingly to drive price back up, and including this gap. And if they don't defend that price, then the higher probability is we're going to see a break of yesterday's low. And the same thing with the Qs. If we break through the 710 area and then yesterday's low, that's going to suggest lower prices. On the contrary, trading above today's high in all of the indices would then suggest the potential for rotation back through the range, keeping in mind that looking at these gaps, this is convictive selling. This is convictive selling here, although this gap was closed, and convictive selling right here in the IWM. So we want to watch that very carefully. And you can see pretty clearly that volume was lower in today's trading based on the fact that it potentially is a counter trend move, and that volume is typically lower in counter trend moves such as that. So we're going to look at where we are in terms of the longer term daily chart. You can see the spiders are testing this 760 area. That is support. That's a very important area. Trading through that is going to suggest trading down through the 720 area. You can see volume in the spiders basically flat. 52-week highs minus 52-week lows basically flat. And breadth in the NYSE only 570 shares positive. So it certainly was not a strong day in terms of the market internals. Same thing with the Qs. I'm going to be looking below 707 to be short, and potentially long above the 728, 729 area also. Volume low in the Qs once again, and then of course breadth 1,300 shares. It's nothing to write home about, but much better than the breadth in the other two indices. You can see breadth in the Russell was 573 shares, volume very low. Resistance in the IWM is at the 302 area. And then, of course, breaking yesterday's low is going to be a breakout of this area of rotation, which would suggest the higher probability of testing this 290 area, 288, 289 area in the IWM. Now, looking at in terms where we are in terms of overbought and oversold, we're neutral. So it doesn't give us an indication of, or at least a higher probability of one event occurring over the other. So this allows the market to move in either direction based on the fact that it is neither overbought nor oversold. And then looking at where we are in terms of volume, this is total NYSE volume. You can see it's basically flat, really just just hanging down at the lowest levels that we've seen in NYSE volume for quite some time. Net volume basically in a rotational pattern as well. Looks like it potential to break out. I'll be watching this on Monday, especially if we take out today's highs. On Monday, I want to see this break out as well. And then, of course, same thing with the NASDAQ volume. This is total NASDAQ volume. Looks like a little bit of head and shoulders top here. That's going to be very interesting. But I would doubt that we'd see much lower volume in the NASDAQ based on where this line is, at least at this point in time. Same thing with net volume, a little bit of a rotational pattern, really not giving an indication as to whether the market was strengthening on the rally today or not. So higher probability is likely we're going to see some type of rotation back to the downside. But I want the market to give me that information before I make any plans. Now, strategically, I'll have a strategy for if it breaks to the upside or it breaks to the downside, and then I'll just look to the internals to confirm the move. So what I'd like to do now, and I did it last week, I talked about a couple trades that I made. This is a daily chart, and this is Marathon. This is ticker is MARA. Now, I was out of the office for the first part of the week, got back Wednesday evening, and so yesterday was my first day trading for this week. So you can see this little bit of area of rotation here. Now, what caught my attention here with this was the way volume was building. So yesterday we had this breakout move. And so yesterday, even though we had this breakout move, I stepped in and bought this stock. I actually bought options in this stock. And you can see where volume was yesterday at the close of the day. So I felt pretty comfortable that we were going to see some follow through in today's trading. We did see follow through, but right in the first hour of trading, it immediately started to sell off. Again, I closed this trade maybe 10 minutes after the open today, and you can see volume was higher. Now, what this tells me, once again, is that here we have a selling tail that came in on higher volume, which suggests that buyers may have exhausted themselves, and potentially we're going to see some type of move back to the downside. I'm going to be watching this stock in Monday's trading as well. The other trade I made was strategy, used to be MicroStrategy. And you can see this rotational pattern here. And I saw this yesterday, this move on Wednesday that appeared to be a breakout. Today at the open, yesterday at the open, it gapped up slightly on a shorter term chart. I stepped in and bought options in this as well. And then, of course, the same thing happened at the open today. It gapped up once again, but immediately started to flounder. And I pulled the plug on that trade also. And then finally, another silver trade. I showed this trade that I took several days ago. You can see the rotational pattern here. You can see the breakout move. And I held this for a couple days, right up till this day, and then closed that trade. Now we got another smaller area of rotation right through there. So on yesterday, when I saw this breakout, once again, I bought options, I bought calls, and closed the trade at the open today. So within the first 10 to 15 minutes of trading today, all three of those trades that I was in produced some pretty nice profits, and I exited all of them at the open. Looking for a potential, I really wanted to trade in the indices today, but this was just not giving me any confidence that the market knew exactly where it was going to go or what it was going to do. Hopefully that'll change on Monday. Have a great weekend, and I will pick this back up again after the close on Monday.